What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses sits down for what should be a routine interview only to find herself face with a host determined to tear her down? What you're about to witness is the moment Jennifer Connelly reached her breaking point on live television. And trust me, you've never seen anything quite like this before. The tension was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. And by the end, even the studio audience was left speechless. But before we dive into this incredible confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really triggered this explosive exchange. The morning started like any other episode of The View. Jennifer Connelly had arrived at the studio fresh off promoting her latest film, expecting the usual softball questions about her career, her family, and her upcoming projects. She settled into the guest chair with that composed elegance she's known for. Her dark hair perfectly styled, wearing a sophisticated navy blazer that commanded respect. The audience was clearly excited to see her, their applause warm and genuine as she waved with that trademark smile. But Joy Behar had other plans entirely. From the moment the camera started rolling, something felt different. Joy's usual welcome was colder than usual, her smile not quite reaching her eyes as she shuffled through her notes with an almost predatory focus. The other hosts seemed to sense the shift, too, exchanging subtle glances as Joy launched into her opening remarks. So, Jennifer, Joy began, her voice carrying an edge that made the studio audience lean forward slightly. You've been in Hollywood for what, 30 years now? That's quite a run for someone who started so young. Jennifer nodded graciously, clearly not catching the subtle dig embedded in the seemingly innocent observation. Well, I've been incredibly fortunate to work with amazing directors and tell stories that matter to me. It's been a wonderful journey. Wonderful journey, Joy repeated. And there was something in the way she said it that made Jennifer's smile falter just slightly. I'm sure it has been. Though I have to say some people might argue that journey has been a bit, how should I put this, strategic. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Jennifer's eyebrows raised slightly, her media training kicking in as she maintained her composure. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that, Joy. Joy leaned back in her chair, clearly relishing the moment. Oh. Come on, Jennifer. We're all adults here. Your career trajectory has been, shall we say, very carefully managed. From child model to serious actress to Oscar winner, that doesn't just happen by accident. I've worked very hard for everything I've achieved, Jennifer replied, her voice still controlled, but with a slight steel creeping in. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Joy shot back with a dismissive wave of her hand. I'm stating facts. You've been very good at attaching yourself to the right projects, the right directors, the right people. It's actually quite impressive from a business standpoint. The other hosts were clearly uncomfortable now. Whoopi tried to interject with a light comment about Jennifer's upcoming film, But Joy wasn't having it. She held up a hand to silence her colleague, her focus laser sharp on her target. Jennifer's composure was beginning to crack, though. She was fighting valiantly to maintain her professionalism. Joy, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. I've never approached my career as a business transaction. I choose roles that challenge me artistically. Artistically? Joy scoffed. And the dismissive tone sent a visible ripple through the studio. Audience. Is that what we're calling it? Because from where I sit, it looks more like a series of very calculated moves designed to maximize your profile and your bank account. That's incredibly unfair, Jennifer said, her voice rising slightly. For the first time. You don't know anything about my motivations or my process. Joy's eyes lit up at the first sign of Jennifer losing her cool. Like a shark smelling blood in the water, she pressed harder. Don't I? Let's talk about your marriage to Paul Bettany. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? Right around the time you were transitioning from teen roles to more serious fare. The studio fell dead silent. Even the cameras seemed to zoom in closer, sensing the moment was about to explode. Jennifer's face went pale, then flushed red with anger. How dare you, she said quietly. But her words carried more force than if she had shouted them. How dare you bring my family into this? Your family is fair game when you built your career on being America's sweetheart? Joy replied with a cruel smile. The wholesome girl next door who just happened to marry a successful actor right when she needed to reinvent herself. It's a classic Hollywood story. Jennifer stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with a harsh sound that echoed through the stunned studio. The audience gasped collectively, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. I will not sit here and listen to you attack my marriage and my integrity, Jennifer said, her voice shaking with barely contained fury. Paul and I fell in love on the set of A Beautiful Mind. And our relationship has absolutely nothing to do with career calculations. Joy wasn't backing down. If anything, Jennifer's obvious distress seemed to embolden her further. Oh, please. You were what, 30 when you met him? Old enough to know exactly what you were doing. And it worked out perfectly. Didn't it? Suddenly, you weren't just the girl from Labyrinth anymore. You're being deliberately cruel. Jennifer shot back, her professional mask finally slipping completely. And for what? To get a reaction to boost your ratings. This is exactly what's wrong with this industry. The other hosts were frantically trying to signal for a commercial break, but Joy was in full attack mode now, completely ignoring their desperate attempts to regain control of the situation. The industry. Joy laughed harshly. Honey, you are the industry. You're everything that's calculated and artificial about Hollywood, wrapped up in a pretty package and sold to the public as authenticity. Jennifer's hands were visibly shaking now, whether from anger or hurt or both. The camera caught every micro-expression, every moment of her growing distress, and the studio Audience was watching in horrified fascination as one of their beloved stars was systematically torn apart on live television. "You know what, Joy?" Jennifer said, her voice now steady with a cold fury that was somehow more intimidating than any shouting could have been. "I came here today thinking I was going to have a conversation with a professional. Clearly, I was mistaken." Joy's eyes gleamed with satisfaction at having gotten under Jennifer's skin. "Professional sweetheart, this is television. We're here to have real conversations, not just publicity puff pieces. If you can't handle a little scrutiny, maybe you should stick to your scripted roles." "A little scrutiny?" Jennifer's laugh was bitter. "You've spent the last 10 minutes questioning my integrity, my marriage, and my motivations without a single piece of evidence to back up your accusations. That's not scrutiny. That's character assassination." The studio audience was completely silent now, torn between their loyalty to the show and their obvious sympathy for Jennifer. You could feel the tension radiating from every corner of the room as the other hosts sat frozen, unsure how to intervene in what had become a full-blown verbal warfare. Joy leaned forward, sensing she had Jennifer exactly where she wanted. Her character assassination. That's rich coming from someone who's made a career out of playing characters. "Tell me, Jennifer, when you wake up in the morning, do you even know who the real you is anymore?" "I know exactly who I am," Jennifer replied, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "I'm someone who's worked incredibly hard to build a career based on craft and dedication. I'm a mother who tries to shield her children from exactly this kind of toxic behavior. And I'm a woman who's smart enough to recognize a bully when she sees one." The word bully hit Joy like a physical blow. Her face darkened immediately, and for the first time since the interview began, she looked genuinely angry rather than smugly superior. "Bully." Joy's voice rose sharply. "I'm a journalist doing my job. If asking tough questions makes me a bully, then maybe you need to toughen up, princess." "Tough questions?" Jennifer shot back. "Tough questions would be about my acting process, my choice of roles, my thoughts on the industry. What you're doing is making personal attacks and presenting them as journalism. There's a difference, though. Apparently, you've forgotten that." Joy stood up now, too, her face flushed with anger. "Don't you dare lecture me about journalism. I've been in this business longer than you've been alive. I've interviewed presidents, world leaders, Nobel Prize winners. I don't need some Hollywood actress telling me how to do my job. Then maybe you should start acting like the journalist you claim to be instead of a tabloid gossip columnist." Jennifer fired back without missing a beat. The audience actually gasped at that one. Several people could be heard murmuring to each other, clearly shocked at how quickly and completely the interview had derailed. The camera operators were having a field day, switching between close-ups of both women's increasingly heated expressions. Joy's face was now a deep red, and when she spoke, her voice was shaking with rage. "How dare you? How dare you come into my house and disrespect me like that? You're nothing but a pretty face. Who got lucky? And you have the audacity to question my credentials. Your credentials? Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. What credentials? The ability to ambush guests, the talent for making personal attacks. If that's what qualifies as credentials in your world, then I want no part of it. Then leave. Joy snarled. Nobody's forcing you to stay here. If you can't handle honest discussion, then maybe you should go back to your mansion in the hills and pretend the real world doesn't exist. Jennifer stared at Joy for a long moment, and you could see her weighing her options. The smart play would be to sit back down, apologize for the misunderstanding, and try to salvage the interview. That's what her publicist would have told her to do. That's what every media training session had prepared her for. Instead, she did something completely unexpected. You're absolutely right, Jennifer said quietly. Nobody is forcing me to stay here, and I won't. She turned toward the studio audience, her composure returning as she addressed them directly. I want to apologize to all of you who came here today expecting to see a respectful conversation. You deserved better than this, and I'm sorry you had to witness it. Joy was sputtering now, clearly not having expected Jennifer to actually follow through on leaving. You can't just walk out in the middle of an interview. This is live television. Jennifer turned back to face her one last time. Watch me. The other hosts were frantically trying to regain control of the situation. Whoopi jumped in desperately. Jennifer, please. Let's all just take a breath here. We can start over. But Jennifer was already reaching for her purse, her mind clearly made up. I'm sorry, Whoopi. I have tremendous respect for you in this show. But I won't be disrespected like this. Not by anyone. Joy wasn't done yet. As Jennifer started to move toward the edge of the set, Joy called after her. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When things get a little real, a little challenging, you run away. Very telling behavior, Jennifer. Jennifer stopped dead in her tracks. For a moment, everyone in the studio held their breath, wondering if she was going to turn around and re-engage. When she did turn, her expression was calm, but her eyes were blazing. You want to know what's telling, Joy? What's telling is a grown woman who thinks cruelty equals honesty. What's telling is someone who's so insecure about their own relevance that they have to tear down their guests to feel important. What's telling is a person who's forgotten that behind every celebrity is a human being with feelings, with a family, with dignity. That deserves to be respected. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. Every word Jennifer spoke seemed to land with the weight of absolute truth. And even Joy seemed momentarily speechless. I've spent my entire career trying to tell stories that matter, to bring characters to life that resonate with people. You've apparently spent yours trying to tear people down for entertainment. I know which legacy I'd rather leave behind. With that, Jennifer turned and walked steadily toward the exit. Her heels clicking against the studio floor. In the deafening silence, the camera followed her every step, capturing what was clearly becoming one of the most memorable moments in daytime television history. But Joy wasn't finished as Jennifer reached the edge of the set. Joy's voice cut through the silence like a knife. Running away again. Jennifer, just like you ran from indie films when they stopped being profitable. Jennifer froze. You could see her shoulders tense, and for a moment it looked like she might just keep walking. But something in Joy's tone, that final cruel twist of the knife, was too much to ignore. She turned around slowly, and when she faced Joy again, her expression had changed completely. Gone was the hurt, the defensive anger. What replaced it was something far more dangerous. A cold, calculated fury that made even Joy take a half step back. You know what, Joy? You're right. I am running. I'm running from someone who's so desperate to stay relevant that she's willing to destroy people on live television just to generate a few headlines. I'm running from someone who's confused cruelty with courage and malice with journalism. Joy's face went pale, but she wasn't backing down. I'm not the one having a meltdown on national television. A meltdown? Jennifer's voice was steady as steel. This isn't a meltdown, Joy. This is me choosing not to enable your behavior anymore. This is me refusing to be your victim. The other hosts were desperately trying to cut to commercial, but the control room seemed frozen, recognizing they were witnessing television history in the making. The audience was completely captivated, many of them leaning forward in their seats. Jennifer took a step closer to Joy's chair. You want to know what's really telling? The fact that you think basic human decency is a sign of weakness. The fact that you believe tearing someone down somehow builds you up. The fact that you've confused being mean with being strong. I'm not mean, Joy protested. But her voice lacked its earlier conviction. I'm honest. No, Joy, you're bitter. The words hit like a physical blow. You're bitter, and you're jealous, and you're taking it out on people who've done nothing to deserve it. You think because you've been in this business a long time, that gives you the right to be cruel to anyone who comes after you? Joy's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. For the first time in the entire confrontation, she seemed genuinely speechless. Jennifer pressed her advantage. I've watched you do this to other guests. I've seen you tear down young actresses, dismiss accomplished women, and mock people who've achieved things you never could. And I've stayed silent because I thought that was the professional thing to do. But I'm done being professional with someone who doesn't understand what professionalism means. You don't know what you're talking about. Joy finally managed, but her voice was weak, defensive. Don't I? Jennifer's eyebrows raised. Let's talk about your track record, Joy. How many guests have you driven to tears? How many careers have you tried to damage? How many times have you used this platform to settle your own personal Scores? The studio audience was dead. Silent, hanging on every word. Even the crew members had stopped what they were doing to watch the confrontation unfold. Joy tried to recover her earlier aggression. This is ridiculous. You're being overly dramatic, just like all actresses. But Jennifer wasn't having it. There it is again. Another dismissive generalization. Another attempt to diminish someone instead of engaging with what they're actually saying. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She looked directly into the main camera. I want everyone watching to understand something. This isn't about me. This isn't about my hurt feelings or my bruised ego. This is about a pattern of behavior that's become normalized in our culture. The idea that being cruel somehow makes you authentic. That being respectful makes you weak. Joy tried one last desperate attack. Oh. Please spare us the lecture. You're just mad because someone finally called you out on your act. Jennifer turned back to her with a sad smile. And there it is. Even now, even after everything I've said, you still don't get it. You still think this is about winning or losing. About who can deliver the most devastating blow. You've missed the entire point. She gathered her purse and coat with deliberate calm. The real tragedy here isn't what you've said to me. It's that you've become so accustomed to this behavior that you can't even see how destructive it is. Not just to your guests, but to yourself. Joy's face was now a mixture of anger, confusion, and something that might have been shame. You can't just walk away from this. I absolutely can, Jennifer replied. And I am because I refuse to participate in whatever this has become. I refuse to normalize this kind of treatment of people. She looked at the other hosts. Whoopi, Sarah, Alyssa, I have nothing but respect for all of you. I'm sorry this happened on your show. Then she looked directly at Joy one final time. And Joy, I genuinely hope you figure out whatever it is that's driving this anger. Because this isn't journalism and it isn't entertainment. It's just sad. The camera captured every step as Jennifer walked across the set with perfect composure, her head held high. The studio doors closed behind her with a soft click that somehow seemed to echo through the entire space. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The audience sat in stunned silence, processing what they had just witnessed. The other hosts looked shocked, clearly unprepared for anything like this in their media training. Joy sat frozen in her chair, staring at the spot where Jennifer had been standing. Her face cycled through various emotions, anger, confusion, and something that looked disturbingly like the dawning realization that she might have gone too far. Finally, Whoopi cleared her throat and looked directly into the camera. Well, folks, that was something. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. As the cameras cut away, you could see Joy slumping in her chair, the fight completely gone out of her. The audience began murmuring among themselves, many shaking their heads in apparent disbelief at what they had just witnessed. And somewhere outside the studio, Jennifer Connelly was walking to her car having just delivered one of the most powerful exits in television history. She had chosen dignity over ratings, respect over revenge, and in doing so, had shown exactly the kind of strength that Joy Behar claimed to value, but clearly didn't recognize when she saw it. So, what do you think? Was Jennifer right to walk out, or should she have stayed and tried to work things out? Let me know in the comments below.